Welcome to the Black in Canada panel discussion. My name is Eboni Morgan. I am an author, content creator, and DEI professional. Today, I'm here with some fantastic panelists, and here they are.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Rutherford, founder and managing director of Debonair Corporate Events. At Debonair Corporate Events, we work with our clients to help them retain their members, their employees, as well as their clients by creating innovative experiences through meeting and events.
Hey everybody, my name is Eboni L, and I'm a financial professional, lifestyle influencer, and public speaker. My focus is really to support women of color and youth build and achieve their wildest goals and dreams through financial literacy, and that is building massive savings and eliminate debt.
Hey everyone, my name is Jackie Clarke. I am the founder of The Well Connected, which is a creative communications agency here in Toronto, and we support entrepreneurs, businesses, startups with their sponsorship, virtual event management, and media needs.
In 2022, Cloré Beauty Supply supported up to 100 Canadian Black-owned brands, community organizations, and entrepreneurs, pledging over $120,000 in financial and in-kind sponsorship and donations. A company that is both run and supported by women of color, it is Cloré's priority to continue to uplift Black entrepreneurs in Canada. Cloré Beauty will also be launching a new franchise system, which will offer the public the opportunity to own their own franchise by 2024. In 2019, Canada created and launched the BEP, the Black Entrepreneurship Program, the anti-racist program that empowers Black entrepreneurs. Within BEP, about $53 million were invested in setting up a new national ecosystem fund to access funding for mentorship, training, and financial services. With this program, Black entrepreneurs can get up to $33.3 million in loans of $250,000 each. Finally, about $6.5 million were invested in a new Black entrepreneurship knowledge hub to offer eligible candidates successful growth opportunities. This is great, but there is definitely more that can be done to support Black-owned businesses in Canada and Ontario specifically. There aren't many specific statistics on how many Canadian businesses are Black-owned, but about 20% of startups in Canada fail in their first year, while 60% fail within the first 3 years. We want to discuss ways that Cloré can contribute to their growth and their survival. Welcome to the panel. So excited to have all of you here today. We're going to start off with the question of what are the biggest obstacles you faced as a Black-owned business in Canada, and what systems could be put in place to help prevent other Black businesses from going through the same things? We're starting with Eboni.
Starting with Eboni.
We're starting with Eboni. Okay. I would say that when I first started my business, I believed that the community would really embrace me with open arms. And so being in the financial space, I can see that there's a lot of disparities in who is represented in that industry. And so I figured, okay, we need the products, we need the knowledge. I'm a Black woman, I'm spunky, I'm smart. The community is just going to love me. And I think that was my first mistake because when I first started my business, it was actually the community that was kind of like, nope. So it took some time. It took some time to understand the community and what they were looking for, and to be able to present information in a way that was, understanding I was young and I'm a Black female. The norm is a white heterosexual male who's usually older. And so as much as I defied the odds, I became extremely knowledgeable in my craft, and that brought the community back around. And I would say to avoid this obstacle, really as a community, we really just need to hone in on supporting one another's business. Instead of just hashtag support Black businesses, just support our businesses. And that would, allow people to get over that hurdle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dwayne, what about you?
When I started my business, similar to Eboni, I thought I had a great idea. I know I can make an impact. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to start this business and I'm going to make a difference. Not truly understanding all the things that are required to be truly an entrepreneur. So there was a lot of learning, and I can understand why it is that so many businesses fail, because you get excited about an idea and you think you can make a difference, and and you feel passionate about that. However, you start to do it and realize, there's things I don't know. Mm-hmm. For me, one of the biggest things I learned earlier on is that funding is a real challenge. Getting support from the banks and the financial institutions to allow you to invest in your business, to grow and actually make the difference that you want to make is very challenging. And, you know, the banks, if you don't have that history, if you don't have any type of collateral to put up against your business, they're just not going to give you that chance or opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for me, what I would say is that when you have this business idea and you know and you believe that you're going to be able to make a difference, do the research, talk to people, understand what some of the potential hurdles are, understand where people have failed in the past, and have a solution of how you're going to get over those hurdles before just jumping in.
What I'm getting from both Eboni and Dwayne here in your responses is there's a big aspect of research required before you just
1,000%
jump in, before you just start running. And I want to just dive in a little bit deeper and ask both of you, what does the research look like? What does the work aspect of bringing your idea to fruition look like for both of you?
Do you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go ahead.
Yeah, you start.
I would say, like Dwayne mentioned, it really comes into, again, like I did market research. What does our community want to hear? Because understanding that there's a need is one part of running a successful business. It's also understanding how to deliver it. Because for our community, for example, there's so much traumas attached to finance that as much as our families need it, it's kind of like, I don't even know if you're the right person to have this conversation with me. So understanding your market, developing a niche audience, right? Also ensuring that once you do go out into the community, like Dwayne mentioned, it's like, do I have all the right tools? Am I marketing myself correctly? Am I marketing myself in the right audience? Because when we think of our community, it's extremely diverse. I can go to different age range. I can go to females only, and figuring out where my voice is really going to have the most influence to make that impact.
Yeah, such a great point. You know, for me, the research that I did essentially was, of course, you talk to the closest people around you to see if, okay, well, do they think that you have a viable business? And, you know, if they're truly your fans, they will say yes, but that it can't stop there. Right. It can't stop there. So essentially, I looked at people that are doing what I'm doing and try to follow their path and see how did they get to be where they are. You know, for what I do, we do corporate events and we also do community events. And I really wanted to excel in the corporate space. So I have a corporate background. I participated in those events in a different capacity, but to have my own business, I wanted to talk to some of those companies and understand what is it that they're looking for when they're looking to partner with someone like myself who would be having that business, and make sure I was able to provide a viable solution for them. So when I knock on their door, they really have no reason to ignore me. They have to say yes. But it's building that solution, doing that research, understanding what their needs are, so you can actually make a difference and an impact.
Excellent. That gives us a much clearer idea. Thank you both for that. Jackie, I'll move on to you now. I'll ask the question again. So what are the biggest obstacles you've faced as a Black-owned business in Canada, and what systems could be put into place to help prevent other Black business owners from going through the same things?
I would say one of the biggest obstacles I faced was mentorship when I got there. Outside of, you know, you guys touched on the financial part, understanding the needs of the business, but the mentorship to keep up and the encouragement from somebody who was in my same position. Your friends and family are one thing, but being an entrepreneur is a very different than being a 9-to-thriver. So having somebody who could encourage me, knew where I was coming from, and understand where I'm going, because at the time I was, not that there weren't any Black publicists at the time, but in the industries that I was in, I was either one of one or one of like a 1.5, if that makes any sense. So having somebody that could guide me on how do I face these things, not that anybody was racist towards me or anything, but it's like, I'm dealing with products and brands that don't align with who I am, that I can't support. How do I get my message across without coming off a certain way? And, you know, we do have people of our culture in power and position, but they seem to forget to come back and help those in need. And I would say one of the biggest things was, you know, to move forward would be to come back to the roots to help everybody else, because you knew how it felt to struggle alone, to be alone, and wouldn't you want to give some information that you wish somebody could have given you at that time. So mentorship is really important. as you're going through that journey, because you need somebody who understands where you're going from, that's going to be able to consistently remind you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. And mentorship, it's such a huge aspect of moving forward. It really brings in that community aspect of how can somebody support me in reaching those goals. And I want to ask you, in searching for a mentor and in also being a mentor to so many folks, what is it that you look for in a mentor when it comes to finding somebody to support you in your journey?
What I would say for me personally is there's things I don't know about in business in particular. So I want a mentor that's in business, somebody that's successful, somebody that's also on the financial side, not necessarily somebody that's in the same industry as I am, but somebody that can provide a different perspective to allow me to look outside the box. Because when you're so consumed in your industry, you're just consumed with the how, the when, the where of how that works, but you miss the other possibilities. So a lot of times I've heard people talk about they've, as a Black woman, they found a white male as a mentor, or I've heard white men or white women say they found a Black woman, because again, our backgrounds, our history, our culture is very different in how we process and how we proceed with what we do. So finding somebody that speaks to a need or speaks to a service that you don't know anything about, that can give you a different perspective of why people do that. So I'm in the entertainment PR industry. So a lot of my mentors have been in finance and business because they're very numbers-based people. At the end of the day, everything comes down to numbers. So I want to talk to somebody who understands numbers, because then when I understand that data and I understand that this data represents this ROI, KPI, or end result, I now have the mindset to deal with my projects and clients from there's a data attached to this. So, but that's my personal goal. So you need to find out what need that you want to fulfill for yourself, and find somebody on the opposite spectrum that can give you a different perspective.
I love how you really touched on that point of not always having somebody within that industry, because when you're able to expand and learn outside of that, it really gives you so much more knowledge.
And it's multiple mentors. A lot of people think you need one. You should have multiple mentors for different areas of your life. Like, I'm single, but if I want to learn about marriage and relationships, I should surround myself with successful couples or couples that have gone through something. If I want to talk about children, the best thing to be is around your friends who have kids and how they deal with certain upheaval. So surrounding yourself with multiple mentors to help you, not just in business, but all aspects of life, again, because the common goal is the betterment of yourself. And so when you have different people speaking to different entities of yourself, you start to learn. But beyond mentorship, it's also auditing yourself and self-reflection a lot of the time, knowing what your capabilities are, being real with, this might not be the best fit for me, or I really excel here. How do I develop that? And learning to take constructive criticism. As a creative, it's very hard because we are very tied to our art, but learning to take what resonates, leave the rest. But I have the saying, if 3 or more people say the same thing about me, then there's a problem, because I can't see myself. You only see the projection you put out. So is the projection that you're putting out really what you want the world to receive?
Right. And so much of entrepreneurship is getting in touch with yourself and answering those questions, right? It's a very much an introspective conversation to have. Okay, so my next question is for you, Eboni. So statistics show that 18% of startups in Canada had pricing, cash flow, and cost issues, which were the cause of their failure. As a financial professional, what can Black entrepreneurs do to better position themselves for success in this area?
I think this is a really good question. And I think for me to correctly address it, I have to address the fact that in some industries, we have to understand that as Black entrepreneurs, we generally have to pay more for materials and services to run our businesses. So when I observe, for example, grocery stores that started before COVID or, popped up during COVID, for them to get the things that us Caribbeans love, like, a tinaaki, some corned beef, it was far more expensive for us to buy them from those stores versus, our big chain grocery store. And this causes an issue around pricing, because for that business owner, either you have to now cut your profit and basically sell it for what you're buying it for, or you charge how much you need to charge to cut a profit. And the consumer, which is our community, says, nah, I'm going to go to the other grocery store. So this is one challenge that I think is really important to address. Outside of that challenge as well, I say it always comes down to profit and loss. Most business owners, we don't actually budget for our business. And there's an underlying thing for that. If we don't have a good relationship with our personal finances, it's hard to have a good relationship with our business finances. And so profit and loss, I like to Timbit size. So like, imagine if I had a donut and I wanted to give you guys all a donut. You said, can I get a Timbit instead? So I Timbit size finance. And profit and loss is basically calculating month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year. How much does it cost to run your business? And if you can't track to see that this month you spent more because cost of living has gone up or services have gone up, we have to readdress this profit and loss. And so it's products. If you're in a product base, you're looking at how much it costs to ship. How much does it cost for me to create this product? If you're in service based, it's like, how much does it cost for me to have my internet, for me to run the humidifier so my voice doesn't crack up, which is me all the time, right? And so you need to measure these costs. Right. And then you develop a break even number, which is if I make this number every month, I'm at $0, right? Remember, I'm at $0. Once you make more than that, you've profited. The problem with a lot of small businesses and especially Black entrepreneurs is that when we profit, we reinvest it all back into our business. And this is a challenge because then we're working for free. And that's unacceptable because at some point, if that's your sole source of income, your personal expenses will choke out your business. And so it's important to, once you've mastered the profit and loss, allocate, right? Now I have a profit. A certain percentage goes back into reinvesting in my business. And that percentage is calculated based on whatever your expenses are for the month. And also if your expenses are increasing, I need to increase my prices. The next is savings, right? For your dreams. Like you don't plan to be in business forever. And so if you plan on retiring yourself, you have to save for it. But also when we think about COVID-19, a lot of businesses kind of struggled because they didn't have emergency funds. And so when consumerism changed and things closed, there was no way to sustain their business. So you need to build an emergency fund for the next thing because COVID's gone, we hope. But when the next thing comes, which it will, you want to make sure that you're prepared for it. And last but not least, paying yourself. Because this is not an option. If we had a job, I couldn't go and work for Dwayne for free. No, I would never take it. So why do we do that for ourselves? And so you need to determine how much is your time worth. If an employer couldn't come to you and say, I'm going to pay you $10 for all this hard work you do, don't take that for yourself. And maybe you might have to in the very beginning, but you need to consciously make that decision. And once you have that, you have this sustainable system of profiting and also investing back into your business for scalability and future growth.
Right. Wow. So you had so many drop gems in that response there. I think a lot of businesses, especially given that COVID-19 had a huge impact on how folks were doing, really changed the dynamic, and it forced people to really take into consideration what finances look like and how to prepare. Again, what you said, we don't know when the next thing is going to happen. So how can you set yourself and your business up for success, even when success is very, very difficult to reach in those times, right? And even jumping back to what Jackie said, it's about finding folks who can help you get to that point. Nobody's expecting you to jump in and understand the ins and outs of the finances of your business, but having a kind of good setup with your personal finances is a good start, and learning how to work with that to then extend into your business and having it all be this interconnectedness of success.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I just want to come on the heels of what you said there, because I think it's so important on your last point, because I was guilty of that when it comes to, not paying yourself with your business. So for my business, when I started, I think it was like the first 14 months, I went without paying myself because I'm like, okay, I'm starting my business. Everything's got to go into my business. And, I've got a family and it's 5 of us and I've got three kids and a wife, I like to say. And I'm saying to myself, hold on a second here. If I can't afford to pay myself, then I don't have a business, right? Like, it doesn't make sense for the money to stay in the business and then not be able to pay myself. So I don't have a business.
Absolutely.
So that was the decision that I have to make, to say, if I can't generate revenue, this is going to close. And you have to be willing to do that, right?
Exactly.
As an entrepreneur, you have to be willing, because if you can't do that, then you don't have a business.
Yeah.
And on
right. So I just love that point that you made.
And on the heels of that, it comes down to realistic expectations for yourself, for your business, and the future of yourself, right? Because when I started my business full time, really, my dad, I was 30, I was living at home, and my dad's like, okay, you have an option. You he supports whatever I do, but it's like, you either start this business or go corporate because you have the opportunity. But he's like, give yourself a benchmark. And I gave myself till my 35th birthday, and I'm 35 now. And I said, by 35, if this is not moving in a space where I can sustain myself outside of the comforts of my parents' house, then I'm going to have to do something different. Moved out at 33 because I was able to sustain myself. I'm turning 36 now, and I have never been late on rent, never missed anything, because I had a goal in mind and a deadline, but there was an expectation. Didn't mean that I failed. And just because you didn't hit something at this part doesn't mean that you didn't fail. But realistic expectations, I think we as entrepreneurs and as small business owners get lost in that sauce because we see $1 million. Everybody's on this, I want to make $1 million, but $1 million is not a lot of money and fades real fast if you don't know what your expenses are. And again, it's looking at liabilities and assets. Like, you know, is your business a liability or an asset to your life? And I think when you start looking at that mindset shift, the drive becomes different. The want becomes different. Your needs for your business, for yourself, become different.
Absolutely.
Right. Excellent. All of your responses are so insightful. Thank you for that. I'm going to shift on to Dwayne for the next question. So with your experience helping brands to grow with events and live experiences, can you share some insight on how entrepreneurs can use events as a tool to build and grow?
Yeah. You know, events have so many purposes. And I think for entrepreneurs is probably the same as some of the larger companies in the sense that at the end of the day, people want to buy from who they like. Right. And one of the great things about events is that when you have events, people can connect with you. They get to learn about who you are. They learn about your business. Then all of a sudden they become, you know, customers of yours. So you don't have to have the massive 3,000, 10,000 person event to help your business grow, but have an intimate event where they can really get to know you and then have those people understand who you are, understand your brand, and have them go out and be ambassadors for your business as a small business. And that will be a massive way to take the trust that they are gaining from you for them to then pass on to their communities. And ultimately that business will come back to you over time.
Absolutely. So it's about building those clients and maintaining those relationships.
Absolutely. It's all about relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig a little bit deeper and ask, given that COVID-19 totally shifted the world of live events and those experiences, what advice do you have to those within that industry who want to pivot and still be able to offer those experiences where you don't have the in-person aspect?
Yeah, look, you know, there's nothing that will ever replace in person.
Right.
Like, I would never want to suggest that because, you know, there's nothing, but there's still benefits to having online events. You know, you can have an online event and still develop relationships. You can have online events and reach people that you would never be able to reach in person because now you have this global touch. Depending on what your product or service is, that might be a huge benefit for you. Right. So there's still different things. There's a lot of technology out there for online events that can make these events engaging, exciting. There's a lot of apps that you can add to your event. A lot of activations you can do online to really keep people connected. There's opportunities for you to you know, create your profile, tell everyone about who you are, have your bio there, you know, have these little breakout sessions so people can learn about who you are and teach them about your product and services. So there's still opportunities there, and it doesn't have to be an expensive way to connect with your community that you're trying to reach.
Right. Excellent. I think that kind of approach to it really gives a better understanding of how keeping that experience alive is really at the base of it. So making sure that even if it's not in person, you're still keeping those connections going and keeping folks engaged. Yeah.
So important.
Right. Excellent. Next question for you is, when the purpose is business growth, what type of events should brands be having?
You know, it would be really similar. I think business can have events for, again, multiple reasons, but to me, when you're wanting to have your business grow, it's all about activations and having people touch your product and touch your service, right? People need to experience it, right? And they experience that through these events where you can do an event for, let me just think of a client right now. Let's say you do an event for Coca-Cola, right? And you can have a concert and you can do stuff for kids and you can have all this. But if you have Cokes all over that event and you have this available for people to touch and engage with, all of a sudden now they're trying a cherry Coke for the first time, or they're trying a vanilla Coke for the first time, which will expand their brand offerings, and people can go back and say, okay, well, where can I get that now? So it's I lost my train of thought, but it's about connecting with people and having those experiences where they can actually touch your product and services.
Right.
That's how you can help your business grow.
Right. Because then they're not only just touching it, now they're walking away saying, wow, that was my first time trying cherry Coke. And now I have this whole experience behind it and I want to tell all of these people about it. And it continues. Yeah.
100%.
Brilliant. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Jackie, my next question is for you. So you specialize in helping entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses create innovative communication strategies and materials for their events. I'd like to ask specifically about pitch decks and sponsorship proposals at this time. Brands like Cloré can and do support smaller businesses by sponsoring their events, but sometimes a brand may need a much bigger sponsor, for example, telecommunication companies, banks, etc., with more resources to reinvest into the community. How can Black-owned businesses better position themselves to garner support from these types of influential establishments?
That is a loaded question. There are so many different ways. The thing is, small businesses still do play a huge role in the success of another small business. A lot of us go for the big guns. Not that you shouldn't, because keep in mind, everyone's going for the big guns, but really at the core basis of your business, your event, whatever it is you're trying to do, what is the problem you're solving and who are you trying to attract? And sometimes these big brands, everybody wants a TELUS or a Bell, but does Bell align with your audience? Do they give something to what it is you're doing? And does your audience or do your messaging support their end goal? So really it comes down to looking at what is the end user experience for your service, influence space or whatever. And what brands align with your core messaging. But when you want to attract these big brands, not even big brands, when you want to attract brands, period, I look at this system. It's the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how, and the value. And that is something journalists use when we're pitching an event or pitching something. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you offer? Where's this happening? Virtual, in-person, online, or campaign, whatever the case may be, who, what, when, the dates and times, whatever. Why am I doing this? Why does this serve the community? Why does this benefit you? How am I doing this? How does this serve the community? How does this benefit you? How does this benefit my audience? And then the biggest thing is your unique value proposition. What is unique about what it is that you're doing, or what small thing, that saying, strength of a mustard seed. What mustard seed thing do you have that sets you apart from your competition? And when putting together your pitch decks, putting together any information, those 7 things are the key basis to any proposal, any elevator pitch. That is your selling point. That is what's going to get you into the door. Also, timing is a big thing. A lot of people come to me, oh, Jax, I have an event. It's happening next month. And I literally laugh. I'm like, well, what is your end goal? What type of sponsorship are you looking for? In kind, which is getting product or services donated for free in lieu of, promotion, is a little bit more attainable than maybe a $5,000 budget, even a $500,000 or $500 budget, because there's a chain of command in which these things have to be approved. If you're talking to the owner, I may be able to give you maybe under 5,000, but most events need a larger capital. So you need a larger amount of time to get that 30, 50, 60, 70, 100,000 plus. And then that also comes with its own chain of deliverables. So when putting together your sponsorship deck, in particular, if we're talking about that, you really have to be clear about your data. The event idea is great. Yeah, we're going to do this pop-up and it's going to be this, but your audience demographics and archetypes is extremely important. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What are their habits? What are their spending habits? Are they mothers? Are they fathers? Are they students? Also doing your research, which we talked about earlier. Research and sponsorship is very important. If I know I'm doing a wellness event, I know Nike supports wellness events. How did Nike participate at this event? Not just their presence. What did they do? Do you have an activation, as Dwayne talked about, that could align or can be built within your event that supports an end goal? Having conversations in advance. You want to work with Nike, look at what Nike does. Look at how they activate. Call somebody, the marketing director, sponsorship director at Nike, and be like, hey, listen, I'm doing this event. I realized you did this event with Dwayne and Eboni, and it was da-da-da-da. I have something that's a little bit similar. But what is your marketing goals or influencer goals for this quarter or year? What programs are you rolling out that I could possibly support you with? Then you go back to your sponsorship deck and you build a custom activation or an opportunity that aligns with that sponsor, and you ask them what their budget is. A lot of us put tiers in our deck, and I have a love-hate relationship with tiers. I still build them, but I keep it separate from my deck because there are clients and companies who want to see that breakdown, and you should always have them. But going back to the point of reaching out to big businesses, you could also get a no because you've undersold. You're not going to go to a Nike for $5,000. It's a waste of their time. You know who you're reaching. But then again, you might hit a smaller business, $5,000 might be too much for them. So you really leave the opportunity. Here's the type of activations we're looking to do. Here's the type of experience I'm looking to have. How do you support? And a brand might say, I can't do that, but I may be able to do a photo pop-up, but I need email signups and I have a budget of $2,000. So then you know your deliverables of creating content and this, that might not, it's in between the 2,000 and 5,000. So you may be able to scale back on what you're giving. So sponsorship is really a give and take, but it's understanding what it is that you're giving and what it is that you're asking for and meeting somewhere in the middle. I hope that it's a lot in there. It's a lot to digest. And I could talk about this all day, but I hope I kind of made it a little bit clear. It's not, and cold calling and cold emails do work, but you get a long way by fostering a solution, creating a solution, for a problem for a brand. And then sometimes the brand might not give you money, but they might give you a couple samples because they want to see what you're going to do with that. And outside of your sponsorship deck, your fulfillment and or I call them wrap reports are extremely crucial to the success of that event. Because if I gave you $10,000 worth of service, I want to know how that was spent. What did you do? Who was there? But then your wrap report is also what you use as a case study, as a social proof, and then selling future events and sponsorship.
Right. Okay. I know it was a loaded question and your response was fantastic. So we'll dial back a little bit because I want to jump more into what you said. So if I'm capturing this correctly, you really want to make sure you have all of your ducks in a row when you're approaching these brands. What is it? Who, what, when, where, why, how, all of that needs to be laid out so that you're not just aware, but the brand that you're reaching out to is also aware, and you can have a conversation of, does this fit what I want to do? Does this fit the audience that I'm trying to reach? I want to ask if there's a specific point in your career where you have specifically seen a brand say yes or no to a certain event, and if it was based on perhaps not having the information available, or if it was maybe not an alignment within the brand and the event. And if that is the case, how do you pivot? So you went to a brand, they said no for whatever reason. How do I now take that information and then pivot so that I'm able to secure other brand support, or maybe even approach that brand again with a more clear idea of what I want to do?
Absolutely. Brands say no all the time. They say no for a lot of reasons. Timing is the biggest one.
Right.
A lot of us tend to go to people really late for stuff, or they've already allocated their budget somewhere else, or they've committed to something really big that they know at that particular time that you're asking for something, they can't allocate anything more because they have to stick within that budget. So timing is a really big thing. Also, you haven't done what I call a comparison analysis. So sponsorship is not just, oh, I want all these fun brands and this is what I want to do. Like when I do sponsorship strategies for clients and I'm mapping out your event, it takes me 30 days. Why it takes me 30 days is because I'm doing a who, what, when, where for not just the client, but I do an analysis chart of, okay, this is Nike. This is what I want from Nike because it aligns with this. What's the pitch for that? What's the benefit to that? How does it, there's a lot, because when I'm sending you're sending a general pitch, but within that pitch, there's customizations, and every brand you look at needs to be customized. Just sending one deck, hey, we're having this event, it works, doesn't work, does not work. And brands say no to that because they realize you haven't taken the time to do the research. You're also not taking the time to ask the right people. Picking up the phone is a really big thing. Hey, listen, and because people aren't expecting it now. Hey, listen, I would like to talk to somebody in the marketing department or sales sponsorship department if you have about this possible opportunity. Again, figuring out what those brands want. But when a brand says no, that is the crucial time to ask, well, what is it that you need? How do you receive sponsorships? Or what is it about the proposal that didn't really work out, and you kind of ask them those things. And sometimes they will tell you it just didn't align. We don't really serve that community. And then you ask them, how can I support you in the future? Or how can I pitch you? And they will tell you, because they don't get asked that question. People just unsolicitedly pitch, which I still do. Don't get it twisted. You have to unsolicitedly pitch. But when you have the open gate to ask a question, ask all of the questions and then make a note. So Jackie at Nike needs this, that, and the third. And then I will send that to you, where I have clients that they don't want a deck. They want one sheeter. Cool. So I know that's how you need to receive. So it's really a conversation.
Right. And to emphasize that point, it is a conversation back and forth between what folks want and what you're able to get from them. Brilliant. Thank you so much.